Okay, I'm out and about in town today and I'm here to bring you 3 good news stories. And for those of you that don't know, I live in Pori, which is in southwest Finland. And we're into the first week of December. It's -4 and the river's just about starting to freeze. The first one of these stories is about the 4th Britney Spears and the Boosters concert tour. In Finland, it's not going ahead for anybody who's under the age of 64 who hasn't got a very, very serious health condition. And this has been basically, this has happened because the organisation that's in charge of public health in Finland, they're called THL. They've basically said that a 4th concert tour, in their own words, necessary. It's not necessary. And basically, as I say, the government has been at loggerheads with THL. Sanna Marin, the Prime Minister, and this lady called Krista Kiuru, she was the main concert tour promoter. She's actually from Pori, and more of that in a minute. And they've been trying to get THL to authorise the 4th round of concert tours. Now, I think what's happening is that people at THL have realised that the Britney Spears concert tickets, they're not very good for people. It's not good for the health. And I think they've recognised it's only going to be a matter of time before it all comes tumbling down. And they don't want to be... I think what's happened is that they've realised that the government is setting them up, as the fall guys. And they've basically said, no, we don't think it's needed. Now, what's also mega interesting is that the government has said to doctors and nurses that they must follow their advice and not THL's advice. So I think this was something similar happened in Britain, wasn't it, when they tried to get children to go to the Britney Spears and the Boosters. Some health body said, no, you shouldn't do it, but then the government just overrode it. The difference here in Finland is that doctors and nurses are siding with THL and not with the government. So there are a few Britney Spears and the Boosters fans who are upset about that, because they really want to go to a 4th concert, maybe a 5th concert. But at the moment, they're finding it very difficult to find a medical professional who will take them to the concert. So that's quite interesting. It's a big battle, as I say, between the government, most of them are World Economic Forum, young global leaders, or people with links to the World Economic Forum. That's not a secret. That's just out in the open domain. And basically, THL fighting for the people of Finland, and they're saying no. Admittedly, they could have done it a bit sooner, but at least they're speaking up now. They've also said too that there needs to be some sort of investigation done about the effects that going to the concerts has on your immune system. They've actually publicly stated that, and that's actually been in the newspapers in Finland, and people are beginning to talk about it. So as I say, a massive battle between the government and medical officials, and what I would say that sort of signifies that there's less corruption in Finland, and doctors and nurses and these people at THL, they've not been corrupted in the same way as the National Health Service has in Britain. The second good news story concerns the recent local mayoral elections in Pori. Pori, I think, is the 10th largest city in Finland. It's got a population of about 90,000 people, something like that. So Pori is big enough to have a mayor, and the mayor has quite a bit of power. So about a month ago, there's the existing mayor faces re-election, and this woman, Krista Kiru, she was the person in national government who was pushing very, very hard, aggressively, for people to go to the Britney Spears and the Boosters concerts. I bet she had all of Britney Spears CDs and maybe not vinyl, but she had all the downloads on her phone. She was a real fanboy for it. She even said, or tried to get legislation passed to put people into quarantine when they arrived in Finland, if they failed a test, you know, for the Chinese cough and sniffle. Anyway, the good news about that was that this was ages ago. This is in 2020, and she got an absolute slapping by the Constitutional Committee. Finland has a constitution which safeguards basic human rights, and basically that committee just said, look, you are not allowed to do this. You might have been democratically elected, but you have no right to just trash human rights in this manner. You know, Finland doesn't do that. Anyway, so this Krista Kiru, she decides to stand as mayor, the new mayor of Pori. You know, obviously I don't think things have been going too well in the concert promotion business, and I think she wanted to move out of that line of business and into something else, you know, like being the mayor of Pori. Probably thought it was going to be an easy gig and she was going to win easily. Anyway, so the election has taken place, and she got. This is great news. Again, it shows that people are waking up. So the election results, she got absolutely smashed. So she got 14 votes, and the winner got 44 votes. And this is so not just a near miss, but an absolute drubbing. So I can only think that they didn't have like Dominion voting machines or postal votes or anything like that. I'm just joking now. And well, it certainly shows that democracy is still working here in Finland, which is absolutely brilliant. And it also shows that people in Finland are onto her and onto people like her. And what she wants, or should I say, kind of, you know, what this the people pushing this great reset type of agenda, you know, what things they want is not popular with the general public. And when they've got a chance to reject it, they've been rejecting it at the ballot box, which is absolutely brilliant. So it still shows that democracy is capable of working. The other really, really interesting thing to say about this mayoral election is that the winner was an independent candidate. So that the winner, one more time, was not attached to one of the big political parties in Finland. And I think that that is the way forward. Because, you know, if you think about Britain, the Labour Party, Sir Keir Starmer, he's a member of the Trilateral Commission, which is, you know, was started by Henry Kissinger. So, you know, that's all, we know what that's all about. Then we had, you know, Boris Johnson, Liz Truss, Rishi Sunak, they're all World Economic Forum. Liberal Democrats, who cares, but if they ever became a prospect at the ballot box, they would be kind of infiltrated and controlled by World Economic Forum types as quick as you can say Jack Robinson. Personally, I'm very, very sceptical. What's it called? Reclaim Party, Heritage Party. So I don't know what they're called. Something like that. The one that's headed up by that ex-UKIP bloke, Tice. I think that they will be controlled. You know, as Lenin said, the best way to control the opposition is to be the opposition. So what I think we need to do back in Britain is for people to vote for independence, because it's far harder for the globalists to control people acting as individuals. It's very, very difficult for them to do that. It's relatively easy for them to co-opt a new political party. You know, if you set something up like, say, UKIP or whatever it was, the party would be infiltrated and destroyed from within. That's what these guys are really, really good at. So democracy fails to produce results that are in the interests of ordinary people. So as I say, like, one more time, I think that the best way forward is for people to stand as independents. Full disclosure at this point, I think it's safe to say that I'm not a fan of Krista Kiru. And every time I see her, I'll put a photo up there so you know. Yeah, every time I see Krista Kiru, I think of that line in The Twits by Roald Dahl, where Roald Dahl makes a reference to the fact that good people normally look pleasant on the eye. You know, people who have nice thoughts tend to look nice, and the opposite is the case for people who have bad thoughts. They tend to look very uneasy on the eye. And yeah, I certainly think that about Krista Kiru. Allegedly, Kiru is married to some death metal rock guitarist or something, which seems kind of quite appropriate. And allegedly, she has a child. Although you know. And the final good news story is about this place. It's the Museum of Satakunta, which is the county that Pori is located in. So the exhibition basically shows what happened in Pori between 1939 and 1945. And I don't think a lot of Brits understand Finnish history during World War II. In fact, it actually predates World War II because Russia attacked Finland in 1939 in this so-called Winter War. And at that time, Britain and Finland were allies, and Britain supplied Finland with Hawker Hurricanes and Gloucester Gladiators and other bits and pieces. Anyway, the Finns fought a defensive war against the Soviets, and they ended up suing for peace, having lost a large chunk of their country. It's a place called region called Karelia, and so there's a little bit about that in this museum. Anyway, what happens next is in 1941 the Germans attack Russia, and the Finns spot an opportunity. And that opportunity is to take Karelia back. So they become co-belligerents with Germany. And as part of that, the Germans, a force of Germans, come to Pori. It's like part of the Luftwaffe, and they help to modernise an airport in Pori that still exists today. So yeah, there's a force of Germans occupying Pori. And the museum has a very, very interesting take on that. They basically explain that you know, you can make up your own mind what you think about what happened, and as far as the museum is concerned, you know, you're free to make your own mind up. So I think that's pretty cool that they actually sort of say that. They admit that it wasn't the most glorious aspect of Finnish history, and people must be free to evaluate what went on themselves. I'll read all this out word for word for you when I get back home, because I think it's quite interesting. The other thing that they said was that during the period when the Germans were here in Pori, what happened was that there was all sorts of state overreach, so the government banned things like dancing, and that wasn't sort of reported on in a favourable light. You know, it was the way that it was worded was quite negative. And then what was very, very interesting was that they then said that we don't learn from history, and this isn't that wasn't the last time that dancing was banned in Pori. And then a completely new paragraph, it basically says, it also happened during the Divock 91 people's pandemic. And for me, the inference there, I'll just turn the inference there, it couldn't be more clear as far as I'm concerned, that people have rethought what's happened over the last 2 years, or 2.5 years, and they've realised that what went on was really, really bad, maybe as bad as being co-belligerents with the Germans, bearing in mind all the things that the Germans did in World War II. So I think that that's a very, very positive sign, that people are looking at that and recognising that the human rights abuses, and that's what they were, that went on during the Divock 91 affair, let's call it, was a black spot on Finland's history, and it must never happen again. And what I would say to that, oh wow, I'll just turn this around. This bird, you see this bird? It's like a big seabird. I don't know what it is. Some sort of eagle, maybe. Anyway, so yeah, it must never happen again, and it's good that people are saying that openly. That the curator of this museum actually shows those words. So I'll show that now in the video. So I've just got home now, and I'll read out what was in this museum. Obviously, it's been translated from Finnish into English, so it's just the language doesn't flow in the same way as it would do if it was written by a native English speaker. But here goes. Here's what it says. Museums are given the task to act as the memory of a nation. Not all memories are happy or pleasant, but even the uncomfortable events are worth remembering. Presumably so that they're not repeated, that old line. Anyway, it carries on. We want to be as open as possible when telling about the events of 80 years ago to the citizens of Pori today. Some of the exhibition visitors may find certain parts difficult or gloomy. The kind of cultural heritage that now seems shameful and even painful. A past not worth reminiscing. And then I love this next sentence. It says, we accept all emotions. So for me, it alludes that the writer wants you to think for yourself independently. It carries on. As the builders of this exhibition, we have often been agitated by how certain historical events seem to reoccur during exceptional circumstances. This is not the first time in history dancing has been forbidden in Finland. And you've got this last paragraph, which I'm just going to have to edit slightly to avoid the censorship on the Gulag Tube. Anyway, it says, in Pori, during the Divock 91 restrictions in January 2022. So that was when the Nazi passport was in place in Pori. So basically, the museum, the people that were responsible for putting together this exhibition have made an explicit link between what happened in Pori under the Nazis and what happened in Pori last year in 2022, almost. It's nearly a year later now. So yeah, for me, as I say, that shows that the tide is definitely turning, that the people more and more people have broken out of this mass formation psychosis. They've realised that what went on was absolutely terrible. And hopefully, as more people recognise this and find their voices and speak the truth, which we have to, then the chances of this happening again are going to be greatly diminished. Oh, and I've just forgot, there was one other piece of good news. which happened on Friday when the local ice hockey team, Pori beat Lukko, their local rivals from Rauma. And yeah, it's a cracking atmosphere. And you know, who says that Finns are quiet? I'll just show you what the atmosphere was like. So I hope you've liked those good news stories from snowy Finland. It's a bit brighter today, which is great. And so God bless to you.